Let's have you take your seats as well. Thank you so much again. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining in. And with that, really quick, can we have an attentive round of applause? That's my cue to get the session started. Thank you so much. Thank you as well. Thank you for all that attentive eyes there. But with that, gentlemen, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Excited for this session and excited to be here. Abhishek, you ready?
Absolutely, yeah. It's
Okay,
a fireside chat, so.
Fantastic. Great to be doing this with you. Okay, before we sort of dive into measurement AI, why don't we actually start from the very beginning, right? How did CTV really take off from being what was an experimental sort of part of the plan to being part of every serious media plan today? How did it all take off?
All right, so I'll just take a step back at it, and there's a small anecdote every time a CTV discussion emerges. I think CTV as a medium, the genesis for it was forced consumer behavior. We go back to the times of COVID when all of us were, holed up in one room, and we were forced to watch content on a large screen. So it's interesting to see on how consumer behavior has shifted into a mainstream media. Answer your question, I think it's just not an experimental line item in a media strategy right now. It's an always on imperative plan which adds impact and value.
No, I remember, these definitions maybe 2 or 3 years prior to the pandemic of calling out cord cutters, right? And today, that's a common phenomenon.
I think you need to blame us marketeers for putting all of these jargons and definitions across. Again, I think we need to just look at consumer inwards rather than putting out marketing outward narratives. Yes, a lot of cords, so to say, have been cut, and consumption has now completely moved on to devices. More so, I think we need to look at an addition of how cross-device consumption also happens. And it's very interesting to see in that same household, in that same room, the number of devices that are concurrently being viewed at one point of time. So that just stirs the pot very much.
Right. So scale obviously has improved massively, but measurement is fragmented. Do you like that word, fragmented?
All right. So let me just put it this way. Let's just use the word evolution, right? So whenever we say fragmentation, we automatically put a negative undertone to it, and we start to throw darts at the board and trying to see how has it not worked. But I think if you see over the last 5 years on how the evolution has happened on this specific medium, right from VOD to OEMs to how content has been coming on. To take your point on cord cutters, how the entire fast ecosystem has completely evolved. So yes, if we were to use the word fragmentation, that has happened. Why has that happened? Because the consumer is spoiled for choices. So you catch the consumer, you figure out what the consumer is watching, you will automatically be able to arrest what the challenge is. Coming on to measurement, of course, we need to put a very sound framework in that place. And I think what we've been missing is we're using a ruler to measure a room, right? A medium, which is a TV scale medium, we are using metrics like completions, metrics like engagement. But I think impact is what we need to measure. We need to measure the pure, we need to be a little more purist in that way of understanding on how the medium works.
So are brands, marketers still sort of expecting deterministic answers from what is fundamentally CTV is known as a probabilistic medium, right? Is that what's happening?
All right. So what has changed, and I think that's where AI has really helped us all this way. In fact, it's moved very strong from being probabilistic to deterministic. And I'll just quote what I spoke a little while back. The entire amalgamation of multiple devices in one room right? Powered by a very strong Wi-Fi connection or even mobile cellular connection. The triangulation happens incredibly well, and what the consumer sees on a large device and how that comes back to on your mobile and how that goes back to, if you were to extend it to a DOH spot as well. So your entire cross media, your cross channel journey gets stitched. And let's be very honest, the entire consumer journeys are broken, right? Look at the amount of media that the consumer gets exposed on.
Great. If you could sort of double click on this whole, what is called as household sync, right? Saying I actually capture someone via Wi-Fi signals, their mobile, devices. Could you give us some sort of examples of clients
let
you
me
work
just
with?
try and put an anecdote around it. For a CPG brand, what we wanted to do was a very simple first exposure to having the consumer interact and make that purchase there and then. And we now know the entire Q-commerce importance in the entire user journey. So right from an exposure onto a large screen to what the consumer saw on the mobile device, and there was another exposure at a DOH placement inside the premise also only, and that resulted into an immediate addition in carts for that brand. So with CTV being at the apex of it, you were able to put that entire impact and awareness, and then churn the entire funnel down into a full into a full piece, and that's where the entire loop on cross-device plus the entire household enrichment of that audience came to being.
Got it. The other thing that sort of comes into discussion when you talk about cross-device is always, sequential messaging, right?
Yeah.
Anything that you want to sort of talk about from your experience?
I'll take the same limit if I'll take the liberty of taking the same case again. And when we talk about CPG, it's all about storytelling, right? You just can't force the consumer into consideration. The brand impact has to be made. The storytell has to happen, and that's where the sequential messaging kicks in incredibly well. And you've got a very strong framework backed by tech, and that's where AI has been able to help us solve for identifying that consumer key. We call a consumer identity, we call that a proper consumer key. So that keying has happened more deterministically now. And we are able to stitch strong messaging and bring that consumer from that awareness phase into a absolute purchase phase. So we're able to work that funnel down.
Great. So that's the cue for sort of bringing in AI, right? Now, AI obviously is the buzzword and seems to be part of every media deck. Tell me a little bit on how, beyond, let's say a few years back, how all things automation were sort of getting packaged as AI, right? Any of your experiences on that piece?
Of course, I think so. There are multiple layers to it. When we are running campaigns and specifically on CTV, the entire AI layer in terms of optimization and more so. So let me take a step back. And nobody's talking about the dark holes in the entire CTV ecosystem, which is the fraud, right? So your device spoofing, and you've got the entire parallel ecosystem coming in. So AI has been able to help us a lot in terms of making the media more efficient as it evolves. I think it's going to fragment more only moving forward. So mid-flight campaigns, post-flight campaign optimizations, and more so in identifying. I'll just label it back in terms of identifying that consumer well, putting that strong made-to-platform content narrative, and third is to work that entire funnel down. So AI has the role, and it has products and frameworks, what we've been using at Omnicom as well very strongly. It helps very well.
Great. So what was earlier being a heavy dependency on, say, demographics is a lot right now, which is essentially a signal-led targeting, right? Anything more you want to call out with specific examples or verticals that you work on?
Yes, of course. So when we look at the core of CTV, there are there are declared signals across the device, across the household, those intrinsic demo details. But what we've been able to fuse, and most importantly, when we are able to do and mount a specific research method on top, we've been able to measure some bit of uplifts on what your CTV has been delivering on linear TV at certain places, right? So we have that entire at Omnicom, that Axiom TV narrative, where we are able to essentially measure specific uplifts. And I'm mixing the measurement question earlier, bringing it back again. So that specific part about how CTV delivers gets answered with the role of AI measuring across linear plus CTV, and also in delivering well.
Great, yeah, because you actually answered my next question, which is, how's AI aiding CTV planning and measurement? I'll probably, jump right into the last question, and this is where I probably want you to, step out and hit this attempt hitting this one out of the park. Do you want to take a punt on how CTV and measurement will evolve over the last 5 years? We've spoken about how the previous 5 years, 6 years with pandemic and everything else that you spoke about sort of led to the explosion of CTV. Do you want to take a punt on how the next 5 years is going to look for the medium as well as measurement?
Sure. I think we as an economy, we've always leapfrogged on technology, right? Right from on how mobility had moved from feature phones to smartphones. I think that drastic evolution on CTV will also take place when the entire medium becomes much more engaging. I think a few notes that all of us need to keep in mind very sternly is that, let's treat the medium in a little bit more, in a more purist sense. Let's not get muddled with, vanity metrics of understanding view-throughs, completions. It brings impact. The entire scale brings impact. So let's measure impact. And marketing is all about complementary mediums, right? CTV in its alone avatar will not work well. It has to be complemented with, and the beauty about CTV is because it's sitting smack in the center of a household where you've got a fantastic triangulation of data. So it will move into more deterministic planning moving down, and you will be able to create fantastic narratives moving forward in terms of stitching those broken consumer journeys. So it's an exciting time for us at CTV. Sorry, I missed the third one, is the cue for all marketeers to create that content made specifically for, think that you're making it for TV, think the large scale, think the impact and the trust that the consumers are able to see on that large screen.
Great. So think bold, don't just think a singular medium, and think creative as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's sort of a great note to bring this session. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Srinath, and thank you, Abhishek.